Hello and welcome to episode 64 of the XRM Toolcast. In this episode, Scott and I speak with Tricia Sinclair as we dive into the voice channel, new features that come out with that, as well as into all of her work in the Power Platform School, which I'd never heard about, which is amazing. So stick around for both those things. They're both great. They're both worth a listen in themselves, and they're both jam-packed into this awesome episode. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the XRM Toolcast. With me, your host, Daryl, always raising the bar, and Scott, I look good in plaid. Drew. Scott, how's it going?
Very good, thanks, Daryl. I knew you were going to mention my shirt. I just knew it.
Well,
I felt it in my Canadian waters.
You've looked like you've fully assimilated to the Canadian lifestyle. You've got a nice flannel plaid.
Yeah, definitely. I thought you were gonna make some kind of play about lumberjacks or something like that, but.
Scott, Big Braun, Darrow, maybe that would be a better one. Yeah.
Or more the kind of the Monty Python lumberjack putting on women's clothing and hanging around in bars. But, that's either way. I'm good with the Big Brawn one. That's much better.
All right. On that note, we'll just go ahead and dive right into our guest and our topic for this week or this episode. So our guest is none other than Tricia Sinclair, the founder of the Power Platform School, 1/3 of the Microsoft quiz team, and a power addict. Tricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi. And just to let you know, I do like the plaid shirt. Plaid shirt's a win.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
You're welcome.
But you're looking, as stunning as always. So, pass on the compliment, And I love your T-shirt as well. Let's just see the T-shirt. That's just awesome.
Yeah. Let's talk about that first. Power Platform School. What is that? Give that a shout out.
So basically, it's a charity that I started back like 2-3 years ago. So it's in its third iteration to bring more diversity into tech. So we mentor and train Black and brown people who are not in technology. We train them on the Power Platform and all the different things that you need to become an effective consultant. All the trainers, all the mentors are volunteers from the community, and Microsoft sponsors some lovely exam vouchers so they can take the Power Platform Fundamentals exam. And we have lovely Microsoft partners who get their CVs, they interview, and then they join Microsoft partners to try to get new blood into Dynamics, into the Power Platform, and also change the percentages, because right now, especially in the UK, there's only 4% of Black people that are make up the people in tech. Trying to change that. So started that school to try and do something with that.
So is that online only? Is it in person only? How does someone find out about this?
So the first time we did it, it was kind of like a hybrid situation because it was kind of at the start of COVID, and now it's fully virtual. So we have one school in the US, one school in the UK. We're always on the hunt for good mentors. We're always on the hunt for good mentees. As if you're not in tech, if you are interested in being in tech, and you're not really sure how you can join in, then basically that's basically what we do. Of course, we're right now looking at diverse candidates. So right now the next school is in February. So we're still accepting applications on the website, which is simply www.powerplatformschool.com or .co.uk. Either will take you there and you can just register there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this before. So I'm counting this episode as a win, because I'm assuming others are not any brighter than I am, or most everyone is brighter than I am. I don't know which way to say that, but I'm assuming I'm not the only one that didn't know about that. So great. That's awesome. Both from being able to refer people to that or join themselves, or maybe even hire somebody from that. I bet, they're looking for some candidates, maybe?
Yeah, if you're looking for candidates, we have a lot of really good partners already in Dynamics, in Microsoft Partner Network, but we're always looking for more. So if you are interested and you want to, engage, then reach out to me, reach out to the team. You can find all our details on the website, and we can have a chat.
That's awesome, connecting both of those sides, like making sure that you've got all the teaching side of thing in there, but then also connecting it with the partner channels and, getting people involved. So that's amazing, making opportunities like that.
Yeah, I mean, so far we've placed 9 people in the last year's batch, which is really good, and they're doing really well. I spoke to one of the ladies that went into the partner, and she's now doing a portals project. So she's moved on from being a Power Platform consultant. They've seen that she's got an affinity for D365, so she's now being trained up on D365 and portals. And then I've been able to introduce her to, of course, Victor, who does a lot of events. He's also like this portals guy. So now he's basically helping her, and that's the beauty about from the community and to the Power Platform School, because it is a community-led initiative that our mentees get access to so many people that, to be honest, they might not get immediate access to right off the bat.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very nice. Well, it's funny because I feel, when I hear about this kind of the stuff that you're doing like that, I kind of feel, like I should be doing more. It kind of almost, it makes me feel a little bit sort of like sheepish, you know what I mean?
Why? I mean, everyone does like the little that they can, right? And if everyone takes one step further, then, to be honest, we'll go a far distance. I mean, if it's when one person, if you're thinking, oh, I need to do a lot, but then if you do a lot, you might get burnt out, which means that if I get into a situation, how can you then help me? Because you're already burnt out. So do what you can when you can. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was doing a kind of like an exercise over the weekend, which was like a sort of a mission building thing, planning thing for the next year. And it's like, identifying what you're good at, but then also, and your core values, but then also identifying the group of people that you want to be involved with, influence, help, that you really value. And so it's sort of connecting those two things together, connecting your skills and your core values with the community, the group of people that you want to help. And I think that's the hardest thing, isn't it? Finding how do you bridge that gap between the kind of people you really want to be involved and help, but also the skills you have. And so this is just a great example of that opportunity. If you've got those skills and these are the people you want to help and bridge the gap.
I'm not a good trainer. I have no patience. I don't like to train people. But I see that there are so many people that are good at training, that like to impart that value. But then you also have people that don't have technical know-how, but they're such good mentors and they know how to navigate, right? And being technical is not the only thing that you need to do if you're going to be a good consultant. Like, you have people that they're not technical, but they're really good PMs. They're not technical, but they're really good at knowing how to communicate, knowing how to negotiate. And that's what we've done. So it's what you're good at, you do that. So if you're a mentor, if you're a good mentor, then mentor them, mentor the people, and basically show them this is how you get into tech. This is my network. Give them access to who you know and partners that you know, so they can actually ask questions, they can get engaged, they can actually get an opportunity that they might not otherwise have. Like, tell them how the difference between, Agile and Scrum and, Waterfall and the project, because we do project methodologies as well. We also do the adoption framework. We do the whole Power Platform in a day. So it's really down to what you're good at. That would be like knocking on people's doors. Like, so, do you want to do this? Like, are you volunteering? And I think the first time that's what I did. I basically knocked on people's doors, and now people are getting familiar with this concept. So they're now coming to me and saying, I want to get involved. So they're volunteering and they want to get involved. So now we even have a separate sub-team where we've identified that the in-a-day collateral is quite business heavy. Of course, these like the people coming in, they might not be super familiar with standard business, like tech, like, ideas and stuff like that. So they can't engage in with the in a days, when for example, app in a day that does the computer sales app.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have the automate in a day, which doesn't even tie into that. You've got Power Virtual Agent, which is an entire scenario altogether, and BI, which doesn't bring it all together. So we have a separate sub team that is actually creating how would you put it, a level 100 in a day that is not tied to business, but is also all fully joined. That starts from data in a day, all the way through. So you actually get to tell that story. So it's really just taking people from the community and asking them, like, depending on what they're good at and what they want to do, okay, you can do that. And it's not limited to the school. It's something for the community. Of course, the school's going to use it, but other people get, benefit from it too.
Well, if there's any need for kind of development kind of stuff, coding stuff, then you need to knock on Darylai's door. And let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. I would love to be involved.
Awesome. I will just saying, it's recorded. This is recorded.
It's good. It's kind of accountability, right?
Totally. I having created my own logo, creating logos is really hard, and I really like your little infinity symbol logo on your
it's so cool, isn't it?
So dabs to that.
So cool.
Yep.
One of my friends who is a Black designer designed this logo. The other thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to kind of, especially in the times of COVID, is give as much work as possible to like small businesses that might not be as thriving as it was in COVID. So she redesigned her logo and she came up with this ideals simply because of the infinity, which is kind of like you start out, but then the mentees, because we also have the program where the mentees come back and they help the other mentees. What would you call that?
So it's got real kind of
giving
back. A lot of meaning there. Yeah, that's so cool.
It's actually got meaning, everything. Great. We think about these things.
Definitely, and I like the gold color as well. It's kind of the sort of sandwich between the two kind of the white colors and then all the four colors across the bottom. That's really nice. I kind of feel as though given that the sparkly dress that you wore for the South Coast Summit, I feel as though that kind of should be somehow gold sequin emblazing. I would love to wear one that had sort of that.
We'll send you one. Because the idea, Keegan, who's one of the co-organizers of the quiz, she's the other third, one of the third of the Microsoft quiz team. We had Microsoft 365 quiz T-shirts as well. Of course, now we've got like people to help us with the planning and everything. And we decided, like, it was really quick, but the next time we do it, we want to have sequins on it. Because of course it's the quiz team, right? What's a quiz without Mr. Bibby's like sequin shirt?
Sequins, exactly. Yeah.
Sequins. So we're gonna have sequin T-shirts. It's gonna be epic.
Mr. Bibby has defined an entire genre. He's the patient zero, that kind of the root of all of the sequiny things that have evolved from that afterwards.
I don't think he realized what he was doing when he donned that sequin jacket and came out as Quizmaster. And that thing turned into such an epic thing. Do you know how much money we've raised? So much money in the last 3 years through Microsoft 365 Quiz. We've raised a thing up to £10,000, which is mentally insane for different charities, though.
Yeah. That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Nice. It's just so fun. It's just so much fun.
Well, yeah, that's why it's so successful, because everyone has a great time.
So, for his next jacket, he needs to have the sequins where like it has the question when you have them going one way, and then you like flip it up, and the sequins show like the reverse side. It's just the answer.
Yeah.
How cool would that be? Just saying. But all right, so let's focus less on sequins, because this is kind of a technical platform ish. Let's focus on kind of the reason that we have invited our guest on the show. Although maybe we should just scratch the reason and just spend the rest of the show talking about this. I don't know. It could go. I don't think we can lose either way. But the real reason that we have invited Tricia on here, and I've just found out all this other stuff that we probably should have invited her on otherwise before. But anyway, the voice channel. So we wanted to take like a deep dive into this. I know nil about this. I'm hoping Scott knows a little bit more because he did mention, hey, let's bring Tricia on and talk about this. So great idea, Scott. So I'm hoping his questions could be a little more in depth than mine. But let's first start at the 10,000 foot view. What is this voice channel, and how are you a part of it, and what exactly is it?
So the voice channel, what exactly is it? If you've ever implemented customer service or a customer service solution, one of the channels, so to speak, that every single customer will ask for is voice, CTI, and that's always been provided via an ISV, or obviously they'll start off probably by just holding the phone in their hand, but ultimately will come to a CTI, which will always have to do via an ISV. Now the ISVs are great, but they mean that you have to pin on additional time, additional development, or outsourcing work, which your internal team might not be able to do, and it's not a part of Dynamics itself. Mm-hmm. So when Omnichannel came on, of course, they had all the other channels, but again, they never had voice. They had the ability to implement voice via channel integration framework, version 1, then version 2, but still no voice. But what they were doing in the background, unbeknownst to everyone, was they were busy working away at creating their own voice channel. And that voice channel is actually built, I'm careful here, because it is actually built on top of Teams, but it is not Teams. It's built on top of the Teams public web service called ACS, Azure Communication Services, which means that it's something that everybody is familiar with, everybody uses. But because of that, we're able to leverage the transcription services, call recording, speech to text, and a lot of other things that Teams natively have, but it's now inside of Omnichannel. And this is different from the ISVs that we tend to have, because the ISVs that we have will give you, I can see who's calling, so they have I know who's calling, and I can create a case pre-populated with all the information, but it's firstly not native. So again, having to outsource that, but also you don't have all the AI features that native voice will also give you. So that in a nutshell is what Omnichannel Voice is. It's Microsoft's native voice channel solution. But why it's important is because every customer in my history of implementing customer service has asked for and wanted voice as a channel. And this means that we no longer have to look externally to bringing in that voice channel. We can just have it as a part of the product, which is great.
So if I'm looking at this is the telecommunications interface with the system, right? Previously, I've implemented that as a phone pop where they already had a telephone system, and it had a way. They usually have a little app that runs. It's like a 195 app usually. I don't know why it's always so old, but it's running on their desktop and it pops open a URL, and I have it redirected to CRM, and I parse all the parameters out of it, and then I load it for them, and tons of custom code, tons of time, tons of configuration. And this is just, hey, this is provided from Microsoft, and it will replace that, or does it work in conjunction with their current telephone system?
So a bit of both. So if you're in North America right now, you can buy your phone number from Microsoft and everything will just work seamlessly. But of course, not everybody's going to want to buy their number from Microsoft. So if you actually look, this is where my modern workplace, people will be much better equipped here. And this is also where the collaboration between Modern Workplace and D365 really comes in handy, because Modern Workplace have been so used to implementing Teams for years. And that's exactly what we D365 people have really kind of got to be familiar with now, where if you're already using the phone number, you don't have to get rid of that phone number. You have something called direct routing. But with direct routing, you need to do some additional configuration, and you have additional concerns, if that makes sense, because you need to make sure that your carrier or you have an SBC, which is a session border control. So basically, I'm going into a little bit of tech, but it just means that you can do it, but you have to do a few other things, which the modern workplace team would be familiar with doing, because they have to do the exact same thing when they're implementing Teams anyway. Because with Teams, you can either buy the number from Microsoft, or you can actually just get a third-party carrier, and it's the same thing for omnichannel voice. So in your situation, Darren, when you're actually talking about that third-party, telephony carrier, they could just keep that, but they don't have that little widget on the side anymore. That pop-up would appear straight inside of omnichannel, and they'll be able to see who's calling. If they had IVR, because Power Virtual Agent is actually being used as the IVR. So again, a perfect way to deflect conversations. The more just standard questions that an agent would typically be asked, you don't really need to deal with that anymore. You can actually just have it answered by the bot, which means that what's coming through is really questions that the agent needs to concern themselves with.
That's the IVR. That's where the interactive voice routing or response. I can't remember what the name was. Is it response or routing? I can't remember.
No, I don't think it's routing. I think it's response.
Response. Okay, so that's basically where you say, press 1 for sales, press 2 for service. Does it do any kind of more? Does it do the voice recognition side of things where you can say? It
doesn't do voice recognition as yet, but apparently it is on the roadmap. Apparently,
okay.
But we know how long Microsoft's roadmaps are, so
because that's always the most frustrating thing in the world. It's like service. You said sales. Is that correct? No.
To be fair, I tested this out because the voice channel's been now there in the background for like a year and a half. And when my dad was here, my dad is Jamaican, and my dad is from Trelawney. He does not speak the most perfect English, and he has a very, very deep Jamaican accent. And it understood him. I actually sent videos, like recordings, to the team to say, okay, so it can't understand this. Because the first time when we tried it, like my mom was trying to talk to the bot and it couldn't understand, and he was trying to overtalk to her, and it was just a bit of a mess. So we actually recorded my mom interacting with it and my dad interacting with it, sent it to the team. And it was really funny how they kept sending it back, like, can you ask your parents to try again?
Your parents were the best test users.
Yeah, that's amazing that they're doing that.
But now it actually works. It actually will understand a Georgian accent, which is perfect. It understands Jamaican accent. And we've tested it as well with French, not French accent, but actually someone speaking in French. It really responds to different languages, different accents, interrupting. It works with that. So yeah, it's really good.
Well, the transcription services that you get with the voice channel, and obviously transcription is part of Teams now as well, where you can have subscription. It's what I love about it is that it's all using the same tech behind the scenes. You mentioned that it's using the Azure Communication Services. So that different to some other providers of this stuff where they just kind of go and buy some voice recognition software and just go plug it in. I love that it's this holistic way of working where it's like, well, we only need one service that does voice recognition and we'll use that for everything. And therefore the team that works on that can do all of that work that you've just been mentioning there, and optimizing it for different accents and different colloquialisms and things like that. And then that just simply rolls out to everything that uses it. That's so cool.
I think the beauty about it as well is with IVR, of course, you can use Power Virtual Agent, but because what's underlying to Power Virtual Agent is, of course, the Azure Bot Framework, you can also still, use Azure Bot Framework as a voice bot if you couldn't actually do what you wanted with Power Virtual Agent. And I think in that, it makes it even more powerful, because then you can apply your voice recognition, then you can apply all that stuff that might be missing from the product. It still gives you the flexibility to extend it using, all the platform that's available to you.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, it was before, it was like this myth that was around for so long that Microsoft are going to do this. They're going to come up with a voice channel, because Omnichannel was a big deal. It's like WhatsApp and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, great. But there was always that voice channel that was missing, which is, as you said, I mean, Daryl, like, you've been implementing it for ages, and Tricia, you said that, you've not had a customer that's not wanted this stuff. So that's the irony, is that all of this Omnichannel was worked on things that actually didn't really address the biggest ask. But the ISV market, they've been plugging a hole. So, putting you on the spot a little bit, Trish, how do you think it's going to change the ISV market? I mean, is it going to be a case of, do you think it's going to be like Microsoft eating their lunch, or do you think there is a place for things to work, that alongside, okay, you could use the Microsoft Voice channel or this ISV for different things?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that there is still a place for ISVs for voice, namely because you've got to remember, for omnichannel voice, you have to have omnichannel.
Yeah.
So not everyone's going to want to, first of all, get omnichannel to have voice. The second thing is, like, there are other people that, voices that might not want to implement voice. They're using customer service workspace, for example, or just standard customer service. They don't have the need for like that omni-channel experience. Again, ISV would be perfect for them. So it really is going to depend on the scenario of the company, and that will dictate where you go with them. But for companies that are doing the more contact center or the more detailed, case management, where you have a lot of people and it's really heavy on multiple people calling in at one time, voice is going to be perfect for them. The other scenario, have a look at an ISP.
Yeah, no, that's good. That, like you say, it's not one size doesn't fit all in these circumstances. I think the thing is, the barrier to entry for ISVs is quite low, in the sense that you can just kind of go and install something. And but certainly from a development perspective, I mean, like Daryl and I quite often working on environments where, you're working on an architecture and things like that. And so you have to look at, what are all the options that are going to work here in the different scenarios? I think with omnichannel, because obviously you've got the license implications, and sometimes that's not always as transparent as perhaps it should be. And the complexity, like you mentioned before, okay, there's a lot of complexity in terms of the routing and the bridging and how do you get it to work with your own number and things like that. What's the best place for people to be able to sort of cut through that? Maybe get a trial. Is there an easy way for people to get a trial? Is there an easy way for people to understand, how can I make this work for an organization in simple terms, rather than having to kind of suddenly become an expert in PBXs and things like that?
So there are two things. If you want to try it out, just try it out. Because I think the first thing is just understanding and testing it out. And through testing it out and actually going in to see, okay, what's actually involved here, it gives you a good idea as to what you can do. The second thing is, of course, it's complex in terms of setting up. If you're going away from the edge case of having everything be Microsoft, that's where it can start to be, okay, I might need more help here. Now, what Microsoft did, which is actually ingenious, is they've slowly been, and I'm not sure if you see, but they've slowly been chipping away at the setup experience of Omnichannel. So there was this app called Omnichannel Administration that is going away, and now you have Omnichannel Admin, which is a new cut down version, light, where you can just click on a button and it basically sets up a whole trial experience for you for chat, but also for voice. And with that, you get a free, like a set number of minutes for a voice, a phone number that they'll give you. That will allow you to try the experience out. If you have a bot, then you can actually tie that bot into that experience and see what that whole experience is going to look like for you. The thing though is now if you want to go and bring your own number, personally for me, because you need direct routing, I work for a lovely company that has a lovely modern workplace team that basically said, guys, we need you. So they are setting up direct routing, and once they've finished setting up direct routing, they're going to create the ACS resource, and then we're able to pull that ACS resource into Omnichannel and just configure the actual routing using unified routing to an agent and do everything, right? So in a way, it does require collaboration if you're going to use direct routing, if you're not a modern workplace person. So if you're modern workplace in D365, then you are a dream right now. Otherwise, you might need some support from a modern workplace person who's really good at doing Teams implementations. But if you actually just want to do the trial, it takes like less than 5 minutes to set up and away you go.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's so clever, isn't it? Giving away 3 minutes so people can actually go and try it out with a real number. Because that's suddenly when it suddenly becomes real, and it suddenly becomes much less about the art of the possible, and maybe there's going to be some challenges to suddenly like, yeah, this is something that I can work with. But finish off the plug for your company. Come on. You know, you said you've got a great modern workplace team. Come on.
So I work for Avanade.
There it is.
I work for Avanade, just a small company called Avanade. But the beauty about it is because obviously we do Microsoft technology. That's all we do. We have modern workplace, we have data and AI, we have DSS, digital sales and service. And because of all the changes that's been happening in customer service, we've been able to kind of all come together as different departments and build some really cool stuff. And we're working together to implement direct routing. I think we're doing one of the first direct routing full omni-channel POCs in Europe, which is really, really great. And we're even extending it with a little bit of just a tad bit of data and AI to extend the standard smart assist solution that's inside of Omnichannel. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. And that's kind of what makes me excited, like trying out new stuff and seeing what's new and seeing how I can actually put it to the test itself. So it's pretty cool.
No, both of you have mentioned this phrase probably 20 times. And you're pronouncing direct routing. I'm guessing this is my way of direct routing. But is that like directing the phone call to an individual? Is that what direct routing is, or what is that?
So what direct routing is, it's if you are not, how to put this, it's not directing the phone call to an individual. It's directing the call from a third-party carrier to ACS. So it's basically Microsoft saying, okay, I've got it from here. Let me take this.
Right. And ACS is?
ACS is Azure Communication Services, right, which is a web service provided by Microsoft that's built on top of the team's internal web service. So it leverages a lot of the team's methods, for example, call recording, call transcription, speech to text, all that stuff.
So that basically for the hard way of doing it, really all you're doing is you're saying your current system handles all this stuff. Rather than handling it, just pass it on to this one service, and then it will handle everything after that point. That's kind of the big jump they have to do, the server to server kind of communication.
Yeah. So if you have, for example, your mobile provider, my mobile provider is O2, and O2 gives me a number, but I don't want. O2 has the number, but O2 doesn't do CTI, right? And CTI is basically where you have the screen popping and all that additional functionality inside of the actual interface of Omnichannel. So I'm going to need something that is going to be able to do that, right? What ACS is going to do is ACS is going to take the phone call that's being made. So O2 has the number, it's been routed to my number. Someone makes a call to my number, it gets routed to O2. O2 now knows, okay, I need to pass this on to ACS. ACS takes that number and basically utilizes it inside of Omnichannel, so it passes it to Omnichannel, and then Omnichannel can utilize what's known as unified routing to have a look at the different rules around it, whether that be the skills needed, the capacity of the agent, the round, like all the different rules I've configured will now come into play with that number. Then it routes it through to the appropriate queue and then appropriate agent. That agent then gets a pop, and I see, oh, I have a call.
Awesome. And all that's happened in the Microsoft ecosystem at that point.
Once it gets there, because like most organizations these days have got virtual PBX exchanges so that it's all handled by a cloud provider that's got that facility. So presumably it's a lot easier, and compared to companies that have actually got physical hardware in there, and they've got like a number of lines. Because I was once working in a server room and I accidentally unplugged the PBX, and everyone was like, "Yeah, it's a really quiet morning today." It's just there's nothing was coming in. But I guess these days it's much more common to have a virtual service, so it's it gets routed before it even gets to your building. So it all happens in the cloud.
The thing is, though, the beauty about it is you can still have on-premise PBXs, because if you have an on-premise, and this is where I've been learning as I go, because I am not a telephony person at all. I normally configure it after it gets to Omnichannel, but in order to understand what on earth is going on with voice and direct routing, because it's been something that we've been waiting on, especially in Europe, because we don't have the ability to buy a number as yet. So the only way we can do that is through direct routing. So I've been forced to learn. But anyways, so you can have a on-premise PBX that's routed through to ACS via either an on-premise SBC, just as long as that SBC is certified with Microsoft, or a cloud-based SBC. That's something I learned.
That's cool. So it's kind of like, Azure Stack, where they bring Azure into your organization, and that forms like a secure route through to the Azure Communication Services. That's neat. So there is a solution if you do have your on-premise PBX, and that's very, very cool.
There is.
So I mean, the thing is that when you talk to someone in customer services, that they've got this stuff going on. I mean, I don't know if you've ever actually experienced this kind of. It's always a shock to talk to someone who is knowledgeable about you. Like they actually, they kind of understand what your challenge is, and they, oh yes, Scott, or I can see you were doing this, and then B, they can actually connect with Omnichannel, right? So it's connect the channels, so they can say, oh well, I can see you tried to check out online, or you start on the little chat on the computer, on inside the web page on your PC, or and then they'll say, oh, I'll just give you a call, and they just call you, and and it's always like a shock, every time it happens. It's like, oh, actually, this stuff. People are actually really doing this stuff, it's like actually becoming a thing.
But Scott, when did that start happening? Because for me, that started happening more during COVID than I saw before.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Definitely happened. It started to pop up on my radar definitely in the last year, much more than it had done.
I remember being at a company where we implemented something like that, like in 2009. Yes,
oh, wow. 2009. They are ahead of the game.
The companies. Daryl's always ahead of the curve.
Too far to make any money yet, so they're closed, so they're no longer in business. So
you spent all the money on getting this amazing.
Yeah. Happens sometimes.
But I mean, tell us a little bit more about the AI. AI is this thing that everyone kind of touts as this next. Oh yes, it's got AI. It's not just an if statement. It's AI.
The thing is, AI, of course, is a marketing term. It's not
Well,
AI.
of course, yeah. So when Microsoft say, oh, well, we got this omni-channel voice channel, and it's got AI insights. Tell us a little bit more about how that actually is going to make someone's life easier.
Okay, so when you have calls coming in, so say a new product's dropped, right? When a new product's dropped, especially if there are problems, sometimes it takes a while for those problems to be identified because of all the different data streams that's happening, all different channels, all different ways people can actually voice their opinion on what's going on. So with voice and with customer service, of course, you got what's known as customer service insights, right? And now with customer service insights, what they have is the ability to group topics together using natural language, I call it natural NLP, natural language processing. And it basically will take the different ways in which you've raised your case. So everybody speaks or has different ways, different terminologies that they use. It groups it all together, creates that unified topic, and says, and from with that topic, even with all the cases bundled under that, it can identify now, is that topic trending upwards? Is this topic trending downwards? Which agents are best with this topic? Which agents might need support or training with this topic? How, if you resolve this topic, how can it improve your CSAT score or your customer service KPIs? Using that, you can then decide as a customer service supervisor to say, okay, customers are experiencing these problems. Can we automate some of this? Then it has a direct link to Power Virtual Agent, where if you click on that, that populates the intents or the topic area of that's basically what comes through. The topics, all the different ways in which you can ask for that topic goes through to the Power Virtual Agent, and then you can now pull out and create a new bot that's going to help customers to get answers to their quick questions regarding that topic a lot quicker, meaning that the KPI should be improved because, one, they're not coming through to an agent anymore, they're not being challenged, they're not having to wait and do all that stuff. They get answers to the questions, and you don't have to deal with those topics anymore. So you can now see, okay, did the bot help?
Yeah.
So that's definitely one way.
It harvests the behavior of your top performing agents and then gives that to everybody so they can all be like, they're really performing
so you
as
should
well.
Be more like this person.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yes.
Be
So
more
suddenly that one person is no longer got their kind of unique, special spark that made them really the best performer anymore, because everyone's doing it. They've got to get to the next level and constantly look for some way of doing it.
But to be honest, you might be really good at dealing with refunds, right? But someone else might be really good at upselling to different products. So it looks at, okay, which of your agents are best at these types of things. And maybe when you're looking at your skills, looking at who you want things to be routed through to, that gives you a nice way of saying, if you want to sell more, then you need to send more
to
cases,
that.
more to Daryl. If you want to reduce the amount of refunds, then send it to Scott.
If you want to just drive customers away, send it to Scott.
No, Scott, you don't drive people away. You drove
what part of the
yourself
AI are you, Scott? Are you the A part or the I part?
So Scott drove himself all the way to Canada. That's what he did.
Yes, it's I mean, that is amazing, and like you say, the measurable side of things. That's really exciting. Being able to be able to measure actually the return on that investment that you've just used to implement voice.
Another really cool thing, though, is this is something that, of course, being a part of Avanade is really good for, because we get to like create really cool stuff. And we've basically been building and extending Smart Assist, because, you know, next best action, next best product, and actually demonstrated this at one of the recent South Coast Summit sessions, where we were able to show next best products pulling in from customer insights. And this is something that I know Salesforce has always had, but we were never really properly able to do in customer service. And now we can.
Yes, that's very cool. Yeah, that Smart Assist is so, especially the you know, when you kind of AR or when you start to get into all of that kind of side of things, you know, where screen sharing is great, but then AR is like that's the next level. I mean, in public now, it's kind of it's socially acceptable in public to just sort of do this. You know, like if you wear glasses, only if you wear glasses, right? So kids will just be like, obviously he's just using AR, you know. It's not that he's gone completely crazy. It's like, what was it, Minority Report?
The one interesting thing with AR is that AR has always been associated with field service.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many people actually realize that you have a remote assist one-time calling or one-time code that you can also use for customer service. I don't know how many people know that. It's like, it's really sad. Cool. It's really cool when you use it, you know, because now you can basically say, I'll help you with that. Just go here. And then you have the customer using the remote assist app and using mixed reality, you helping them fix their problem. That's epic.
Yeah, it is. And it just, like you say, it just starts to really connect everything together. You know, all of those omni-channel things.
I can't wait to see where the future is going to go, though.
Yeah, it does seem to be that we are living almost in the future.
So dreamy. I can't wait to see where the future's going to go.
I just can't wait. I like it. I really
Let's just take a moment, shall we? Just take a moment to reflect. Just a moment of calm and play some soothing. Lynn can play some soothing music at this stage. You know?
And while we're thinking of that, well, let's also think if there's anything else we need to go over, because we're approaching the end of our time here. So as we take our second to calm down and just think about the future, did we miss anything? Have we missed anything?
The only thing that I think that I wanted to know a little bit more about, and maybe it's easier to answer, but the sentiment analysis, right? So it has seemed to kind of become a little bit, you know, passé. It's been sentiment analysis. That's so like last year.
Everyone has sentiment analysis. It's not a differentiator anymore. But what is, and what I would love to see, this is my personal thing. It doesn't have it, but if something had it, it would be even like just gorgeous. Emotive analysis, now where you're able to set the emotions, not the sentiment, but the emotions behind the statement. Someone's stressed, someone's like in pain, someone, you know, like that. That is where the true analysis is going to lie.
Because like on voice channel, that's where it suddenly starts to become, well, I mean, actually all of omnichannel, but it's where you're actually dealing with someone and you've got the opportunity to make a difference. Because I think the challenge I always had with sentiment analysis, that people go onto Twitter and they just fire out something, you know, it'd be like a kind of a fire and forget. You know, some airline really upset me and I'm really terribly angry about it. And what are you going to do about it? And, you know, I just love looking at Twitter for those examples. And you look down at it and like 9 times out of 10, you never get the brand that's being mentioned having anything to do with it. It's like it's like a hot potato. It's like you just don't want to, because of course as soon as they reply, then you get the whole Twitter storm thing happening, and everyone wades in. It's like, oh yeah, they're here. I'm going to have a piece of that. So it's almost like that. You know, and if you do that in a public forum, it's almost like an anti-pattern having sentiment analysis in a public forum, whereas in this kind of omni-channel world, sentiment and like you say, that emotion, being able to do analysis of emotion, suddenly actually does mean you can make a difference to someone's day. You know, you can start to, if you get a cue, like calm them down and say, you know, be able, well, what can we do? You know, what offer can we do to kind of make you feel a little less anxious and a little angry at this brand? So, I like that it's part of that, not like the Twitter storm.
No, I like that sentiment analysis is there, but as I said, sentiment analysis, I think when you look at all the other customer service solutions, they all now have sentiment analysis in some different ways. What personally I would like to see, which isn't there yet, but I want to see it, if Microsoft are listening, please, emotion analysis, like emotive analysis, where you're able to detect not just what's written, but what you can hear. Because you can, with voice, you can hear a lot more. You can hear the passion, the anger, the pain, the frustration, stress, all that stuff from someone. No, but it's true. Like if you're in serious situations, you might want to put someone at a higher priority depending on how angry, upset, in pain, stressed they are, versus someone who's just like,
Yeah. That's just so true. I mean,
makes total sense.
Daryl's going to get angry if we don't shut up, though, because this is, you know. So I'm sensing Daryl's kind of anxious levels. If there was that service that it's going up. Did you anxiety as we approach longer? Oh no, they're not going to start talking about something else.
Shall we start talking about Teams collaboration? Okay.
Yeah, he's going to slam something down.
I was just thinking of sentiment analysis and emotive analysis, and every now and then I'll yell at my kids. I love them just because it sounds funny. I love you, and like,
yes,
that's kind of funny. I don't know, it's just great.
I'll try that one.
But I've been looking,
Right,
I can't see any emotional analysis APIs, so I think that is something that is still too new. So it's probably not going to get rolled in for now.
All right.
Quite hard as well. I think it's quite difficult to implement. But,
it's creating it and then using it. Those are two hard things, right? Utilizing it. So yeah. Well, Tricia, thank you so much for coming on and for educating me and all this stuff. And for, I guess, educating Scott as well. I don't know how much Scott knew ahead of time or not had, but you got to geek out together, which it was kind of fun to see from this side of the equation. So that was great. How can our listeners get a hold of you if they have more questions or they just want to follow you? What's the best way to follow you or get a hold of you?
So I am available on my website, triciasinclair.com, where I do like to blog about Omnichannel and DevOps. I've been blogging a bit about voice recently. So if you want to see a little bit more, want to see demos and stuff like that, triciasinclair.com. Or you can find me on Twitter. I rarely tweet though, but if you do need me, people have been known to DM me. Nice things only. At Cassie JA, or just on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, that's how our listeners can get a hold of our guests. Scott, how can our listeners get a hold of us?
Well, Daryl, you can get hold of us at cast@xrmtoolbox.com, or you can reach us on Twitter and LinkedIn at xrmtoolcast. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, Tricia, thanks for showing up. Thanks for bringing your whole wealth of knowledge. Really appreciate it. It was great to virtually meet you for the first time. I know you and Scott are probably bosom buddies from back in the day or something, but it's great to actually get to hang out and get to know you and learn from you. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. And
thanks so much, Tricia. Great to see you. It's been great. Really, really enjoyable.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye. This has been the XRM Toolcast with Jonas Rapp and Daryl Labar. If you have any questions for Jonas or I, or suggestions for future episodes, please send them to cast@xrmtoolbox.com or tweet to XRM Toolcast.